seeing Kota wear a matching pair of shoes identical to Izuku's was just straight up adorable. It was on par with the airy smile that we got a couple of weeks back. Kamui and Mount Lady are a thing. Like, they straight up, they getting it on. Like, it's very apparent by the way Mount Lady said no comment and all that, and then she's like, senpai, and all that, and ran over to him. It's very clear that Mount Lady and Kamui Woods, they're a couple, which, you know what, I approve of that couple. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, when you think about it, Mount Lady is a pretty big woman. And then you have Kamui Woods, which can, make more wood. So, I mean, when you think about, the quirks and all that, I'm like, they definitely mesh. They definitely have some very interesting stuff going on. Dojins win. Please, Dojins win. But okay, jokes aside, though, this chapter, I guess you could say, it's like a in-between chapter between the previous arc and the arc that is about to happen. Or this is actually kind of like the prologue to the upcoming arc. And judging by the way this chapter was done, it's very apparent that All For One might have some form of role in this arc, judging by how he was in this chapter. But also, Tokoyami seems to be a big part of this upcoming arc, judging by how we saw him, like, do an achu, like, he sneezed. And then, as we know, when it comes to Japanese, tradition and stuff, or superstition, it's to where when a character sneezes in a show or a manga or whatever, usually it means someone's talking about them. And Tokoyami says, like, nah, I'm not that popular. It's too early for someone to be talking about me. Now, I don't know if Horikoshi was doing an inside joke and maybe saying, like, there's a lot of fans of Tokoyami in the actual community in real life, or if he really does have a fan right now. But the question is right now, does this potentially mean that Horikoshi is about to start developing Tokoyami and have an arc focused on him, especially for that little segment with revealing who was the one helping out Tokoyami and, Tokoyami's internship, who he was working with, which was apparently Hawk. Now, just an FYI, I think this is the first time that we've ever actually got a name drop to Tokoyami's internship. We never really knew who he was working with, but now we know it is Hawk, and looking at the end of the chapter with this dude called Hawks and all that, we could assume that's who Tokoyami was interning under, which is very cool, because that would mean that Tokoyami was with a very skilled hero, and he definitely is probably going to have a spotlight just because of that alone, the focus on Hawk's character in this chapter. So, Aizawa effectively has adopted Eri. Can we just, admit that? Like, even though UA is taking kind of custody of Eri at the moment, it's pretty apparent that Aizawa is pretty much going to be her foster father, and Togata is going to be like her brother. That's the way it looks like to me, judging by the interactions we got between them in this chapter. I mean, Aizawa is taking extra time out of his day to watch over Eri and all that, make sure she's okay, so it's very clear that Aizawa is going to have this father-daughter relationship with her, which I think is really cool. It'll expand upon Aizawa's character quite a bit, and I think it'd be very good for him, and also very good for Eri, because he is a very strict dude, but at the same time, we know he cares about everybody, so I want to bet he's going to be like a great foster father for Eri, and I just can't wait to see their interactions in the future. And Togata obviously is a very good dude, and he's kind of like a very good older brother, so obviously he's going to be very kind to Eri as well. But I mean, the entire beginning part of the chapter is pretty much saying, what should we do with Eri? And Horikoshi's trying to say that Eri is going to be very relevant in the future events of My Hero Academia, and shows that, he's not writing Eri out of the story, because with him allowing Eri to be a part of UA, like, be around UA, that does mean that she's going to be a central part of the upcoming story for the series, because this is what you would normally see a writer do for a character. A character like Eri or whatever that, got saved or whatever and had that little epilogue we got the previous chapters, usually they'd be gone. They would kind of turn out to be like what Kota was. Kota, even though he came back in this chapter, technically Kota hasn't been really relevant for a while now. He hasn't. Let's just be real here. And he's been kind of out of the story for the most part. You would think Eri would be similar to that. Like, she'd be out of the story for a good long while. But apparently that is not the case. Horikoshi has decided to make her frontline and center and a part of the main cast, because with her being at UA having this presence, that means that she will always be there with the cast of characters if something goes down. So that is a good thing, but also a concerning thing at the same time, because if we all remember, one of the big reasons why many had problems with the previous arc was the fact that Eri's quirk is very questionable. It's a very broken quirk from the details we got of it. We do know that she can revert people, reverse time basically, revert you basically to nothing. That's what she did to her parents. And we do know that from what Overhaul said, if she felt like it, apparently she could turn you into a monkey. So we don't know if she could actually reset evolution or whatever it is. We don't really know how Aries' quirk works. We do know it has an AoE effect, though, when her horn gets longer, and that was even mentioned in this chapter that her horn was starting to grow, which most likely means how strong her ability is, I'm assuming. But I mean, the big point is that Aerie, she's going to be a part of the story now. And that does mean if Horikoshi is wanting to make her a centerpiece of the story, he needs to dive into Aerie's quirk. He needs to allow us to know what she really is capable of. And I'm going to assume that's going to be like the next events of the series. Aerie discovering what she's capable of, Aizawa discovering what, she's capable of, or everyone in UA discovering what she's capable of, and we learn alongside the characters, which I think is a good thing, and I do hope that there is some limitations, because if not, she's a broken character. She is. From everything that we've seen previously, she seems to be broken. I mean, she allowed Izuku to go at 100%. No, she shouldn't be around if she could do something like that, especially if she could control her quirk. Completely busted. Oh, completely busted. Like, that would mean that if All Might was, around, technically, she could revert all wounds and stuff. If All Might still had his power, she could just keep healing him, or he could stay in his regular form. Buff Beefcake form without any time limits. That's how broken Aerie is. So, we'll see where that's going to go. We'll see where Horikoshi wants to take it, but so far, I do like how she is becoming a little bit more of a core part of My Hero Academia's cast. Let's talk about the Wild Pussycats being reintroduced into the manga. I think the reason why Horikoshi decided to bring them back, if I had to assume anything, is probably because of the events of the anime. It's very apparent that sometimes when it comes to writers or mangaka or whatever, sometimes they like to kind of do things that happened previously in the anime. For instance, let's take Taizai for a second. Something happens with Bond or whatever, and all of a sudden, in the latest chapters of Taizai, you have Bond become frontline and center, or it continues off from what was previously set up a very long time ago, and I feel like that's kind of what gave Horikoshi the idea, probably to bring back the Wild Pussycats, because, I mean, they are a very popular cast of characters, and a lot of anime-onlys have been enjoying them, and I feel like he's like, you know what, it's time to bring them back into the story, see, what's been going on with them, give them an update status, and I do appreciate that, because I do like the characters, and I'm glad to see him once again. I'm glad to see Koto once again in the story, and seeing how he kind of idolizes Izuku and looks up to him like a hero. Very similar to how Izuku looks up to All Might, Koto looks up to Izuku like the equivalent of All Might, which I think is very cool, because, like, we know Izuku's perspective. We know how Izuku has been inspired by All Might, and now we get to see how Izuku is looking at someone viewing him like an idol. It's probably going to be a very weird experience for him, but it's definitely necessary if he wants to become the #1 hero. So, Kota, Wild Pussycats, and all that, I'm really happy to see them back. The one thing I do want to point out, though, from the entire convo, is the fact there was something very important about that. And that was the fact that their popularity. Now, we already knew that the whole Hero Society has, like, rankings and stuff with heroes. This is something that's been established since the very beginning of the story. But now we kind of get a little bit more details on how the hero system works, how they're ranked and get #1 status. It's by a lot of things. Not just by, like, voting, like, oh, you're the best hero, like a popularity contest, but it's about approval ratings, it's about how many, like, job assignments they do, just their fans in general. It's a big thing. There's a lot of variables thrown in together to make them the #1 hero. And it's not just as easy as like, oh, I have a bigger fan base, I'm automatically #1. It's not that simple, which I do appreciate, because we see how the Wild Pussycats, they're in the triple digits, even though they've been inactive for a very long time. So it shows that, they are incredibly popular, but at the same time, even with their popularity, they are still nowhere near the top. And they want to make it up to their fans and continue to press forward and do hero work. And that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to reestablish Ragdoll a part of the group, get, her relicensed, for she can also be like, a desk job girl helping them out while they're doing hero work. So I'm happy to see a little bit more details on how the hero system works and how it's calculated. But before I get into that, though, I do want to talk about how All for One popped up in this chapter. So it's a very brief scene. It's very brief, but at the same time, it's very important. What's important about this is we get a little bit of characterization on All for One. He states that he really can't help himself. When he sees a really good quirk that catches his interest, He can't help himself. He has to grab it. He needs it. Which shows that he has kind of, in a way, a problem. It's kind of like an impulse. You know how people have habits or impulses and stuff to do certain things? Let's say you have an impulse to eat a piece of chocolate, okay? Let's just say that's your impulse or habit. Well, his habit is if he sees someone with a crazy quirk that he likes, he snatches it. He wants it. He just hoards things. He's a hoarder. He loves hoarding quirks. And that's just the thing about him. He realizes it's a problem. He's self-aware of it, but he's like, he loves doing it. And I like that little characterization to show that he was someone that just would grab people's quirks that just catch his eye. Even if he didn't really need them, he would just grab them because they were really cool and he wanted them. So that's fascinating. But here's the thing, though. With him popping up in this chapter, most likely Horikoshi might have something to do with All for One very soon. Because it's only a matter of time until we effectively get a prison break arc. I've talked about this many times in the past. It's bound to happen eventually. A prison arc is going to happen. They're going to break out. Stain, how important he is as a character, he's bound to come back into the story. I mean, with the whole thing with Muscular, too, to the stuff with, Rampa and all that, and then, now All for One, they're eventually going to come back. And that was what many thought was going to happen, myself included, with the whole thing with Gentle and La Brava. We assumed Gentle would go to prison, and then La Brava would have to break them out, which would start a whole prison arc, but that does not seem to be the case. But it's still only a matter of time until something like that does happen, and so I feel like with Horikoshi showcasing All for One and how they're trying to figure out how many quirks he has stolen, something's going to go wrong to where this man breaks out. Because, I mean, you gotta imagine, this man is around for a very long time. He's bound to have so many quirks that can just defy so many physics and laws and all that in the world that I bet you that if he was given 1 inch, he could easily break out like it's nothing. Or, for all we know, he might still be able to break out. I mean, we don't really know that. I mean, for all we know, he could have been able to break out since the very beginning. He's just not, because he's allowing Shigaraki to lead the villains for the time being to learn. I mean, he is a good teacher. He even stated he wanted to allow, Shigaraki to learn and teach. He's a good teacher. He made fun of All Might saying he's a bad teacher. So, I mean, maybe he's purposely sitting there for all we know. Maybe he's not saying the truth. Maybe he's just sitting there waiting, biding his time until he finally wants to break out. So we get the top 10 heroes. Now, I have the list pulled up because I'm not going to remember all of them in order, so I want to basically read them off and show you pictures on the screen. So, number 10 hero is Rukyu, which is the dragon hero, which, as I've already said a while back when I was talking about characters I'd like to see more in the story, she was one of those characters. I really wanted Rukyu more into the story because she had a very cool quirk. Besides her just being a very beautiful looking female character, I know everybody's going to say best girl and all that, and they want more just because she has a beautiful body. I liked Rukyu's personality. I thought she just had a very cool quirk from everything we've seen thus far, and I just wanted more of her. And so seeing how she was mentioned in this chapter, I got a little bit excited. I'm like, yo, but apparently she went down in ranking. She used to be the number 9th hero, and now she's the number 10. So yeah, I'm going to assume it has something to do with the overhaul arc as to why maybe she went down. I'm assuming so. Now, the number 9th hero is this dude called Armored Hero Yoroi Musha. I probably just said that name wrong, but Armored Hero for short. This dude is an old man, apparently. He's an old man, and a long time ago, apparently, he used to be in the top 3. Now, let me talk about those translations for a second. So, he says he was in the top 3, but that doesn't mean he was in the previous top 3, okay? I just want to do a quick FYI. When they were talking about the hero rankings in the top 3, you saw All Might on the top of the building as the symbol of peace, and then you saw Endeavor, and then you saw this winged-looking dude, which is obviously Hawk, that is the second number hero in the chapter. So, this dude, Armored Hero, wasn't the previous top 3. What he's talking about is a long time ago, he was a part of the top 3, but he no longer is because of his old age. So, it's actually kind of scary that this man is in top 10 being extremely old. Like, he's really freaking old, apparently, and this man is in top 10 status. So, yeah, I feel like the Armored Hero is a scary man. Like, he probably is, honestly, in terms of strength-wise, he's probably near the top, maybe top 3 in strength. This is definitely a dude we need to look out for, because, I mean, for him to be this old and still be near the top, that's pretty ridiculous. I want to say that. Now, number 8, I don't even know how to react to this one. It's a freaking washing machine. The washing hero Wash. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? You got a freaking washing machine. A washing machine in the top 10. Okay, I mean, I guess he cleans up crime? Okay, yeah, just end me. That was a bad pun. But I mean, just like, a washing machine. Like, I can't even begin to imagine, just looking at this dude, I can't even imagine what this man's quirk is. I mean, if I had to assume something ridiculous, maybe he could suck people into him and, like, trap them? Like, you know how a washing machine is? Like, how it opens the door or whatever? Maybe he could trap people. Maybe he sucks them in, traps them and all that, spins them around or something. I don't know, turns them into clothing. I have no idea. But, I mean, washing hero number 8? I mean, it is said that he's a part of commercials, so, I mean, maybe the reason why he's in top 10 status is because of his popularity with kids and stuff. I mean, that's a thing. I mean, he looks like a mascot-type character, so most likely he is popular with the kids. That's what I'm assuming. I'm just assuming he's like the equivalent of a mascot. Now, moving on to number 7. Now, number 7 is Conley Woods, and he's a relatively new person that's started to gain a lot of fame, and I'm really happy to see this man so high up. I've always liked Conley Woods, but he's always this, like, underdog amongst all the other heroes, and seeing this man number 7 does show that he probably might become more important as the series progresses, but also, once again, talking about what I said earlier in this video, apparently there's a, alleged, couple between Mount Lady and him, which I approve of, completely approve of. That does mean that since he's number 7 hero, and she's, number 23rd, we might see more of these two characters as the series goes on, because, I mean, I do believe Mount Lady is pretty popular, besides my personal preferences towards Mount Lady. I believe she's a pretty popular character, especially with anime only, so maybe that's the reason why, Horikoshi is incorporating Kamui and, Mount Lady more into the series. But, okay, so moving on, number 6 is the Shield Hero Crust. Now, there's not really much to say besides this man having a very generic-looking hero costume, the Shield Hero, so I'm assuming he has something to do with Shield. If I wanted to stretch it any further, maybe he might be like a Captain America-type character, because we do know that Horikoshi loves, Marvel, DC, and all that, so for all we know, he might be like a Captain America-inspired hero, and that could be the reason why he's called the Shield Hero. But on top of that, though, he is crying and he says All Might. That's the only thing he says. So it's very apparent that this man respects and looks up to All Might, and he's sad that All Might couldn't be here. That's the thing you can get from his personality from this one panel. Number 5, holy crap, Bay. Like, yo. Okay, dark skin, bunny ears, top 5 heroes, awesome name, Miruko. I love her. Bunny hero, I want more. Horikoshi, you can't do this to me. You cannot introduce a character that looks like this and not give me more of her. Like, I better see more of this bunny hero. She bae. She thick, okay? She thick with 2 C's. Like, yo, Horikoshi, more, please. Now, number 4 is Edge Shot, which Edge Shot has always been a part of, like, the top, so it's just be expected, honestly. I've always liked Edge Shot's, design. He's always been this unique character, so, I mean, for the most part, it's to be expected. I don't really have much to say about him. Now, moving into the, top 3, number 3 is Best Genist, which I think is very appropriate, but at the same time is very shocking. The reason why is because let's look at the Wild Wild Pussycats for a second, okay? Best Genist has technically been inactive ever since the Wild Wild Pussycats. I mean, they've been slightly inactive, a little bit longer than Best Genist, but overall, it wasn't really that big of a time gap, okay? And so, it's just surprising that Best Genist, which has been pretty much inactive as long as Wild Wild Pussycats, is top 3, which shows that he gained a lot of fans, probably for what he did against All for One, which, I mean, when I first saw the man do what he did against All for One, I was just absolutely floored. I think many of us were, and we're going to be getting to see that probably this upcoming episode for My Hero Academia, since the episode's going to be called All for One. So, I mean, Best Genist is just he's pretty savage. He's a savage, man. Like, just being able to, save everybody like he did when All for One attacked, like that. He's an incredible dude. So, I'm glad to see him a part of top 3. I like Best Genist. He's a cool character. I want more of him. He reminds me of, like, Life Fibers from Kill la Kill. So, I mean, just give me more of this Horikoshi. Now, number 2 hero, his name is the Winged Hero Hawks. Now, this is obviously the dude that Tokoyami referenced earlier on in the chapter. Now, Hawks overall, his design, he looks like a Tengu. You know the crow Tengu or whatever, I forget what it's exactly called, but, Tengu. That's what he looks like, which I think is really cool. I like the wings, I like the design of his clothing, which this is something that Horikoshi excels at. When it comes to character designs, he's always been good at it. I mean, I always felt like his villain designs are better, but Hawk's design is definitely amazing, definitely worthy of being, like, you know, in the top tier, top hero status, because this character just looks pretty freaking epic. Now, number one hero, which I think many of us already knew who it was going to be, but it's Endeavor. And his new outfit. I want to take a moment to look at his new outfit. It is stated in the chapter he has a new costume, and looking at his costume, it reminds me a lot of All Might. I mean, it's similar to his old costume, but his new costume looks kind of similar to All Might. And I don't know if that was intentional by Horikoshi or Endeavor, but his costume, I wonder if the reason why it looks like that is because he knows he has a lot of weight to carry. He even talked to All Might about this a while back, like, what should I do as the number one hero? Like, what should I do? What symbol should I be? And as I talked about when that happened, when that chapter did go down, I said that All Might was the symbol of peace. That's what he was. And I said most likely Endeavor, knowing how he is as a person, he might be the symbol of strength or symbol of power. That's what he looks like to me. He would definitely handle being the number one in a completely different way that All Might never could or would never think of, because, I mean, they're two different people. And so I wonder, because of this style, he's honoring All Might, and he's also trying to say he's a new man as well. He's a new hero, number one hero, that will change the very foundation of hero society. I just like his design overall. And now, I'm not saying that, you know, Endeavor is completely redeemed by any means. I mean, I've even talked about this. So what he has done, the heinous crap he has done, it's going to take a lot for this man to redeem. The only way he's going to get redemption is probably if he dies. Like, honestly, if he dies for everybody, that's the only way I could really see the man getting redeemed. Unless he does some really good stuff that just makes us turn around and like him. But, I mean, he's got a long road ahead of him. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders. And at the same time, I do like his expression. Horikoshi put a lot of life into this picture with Endeavor, because when you think about it, Endeavor's goal was always to be the number one hero. And if he would have actually bested All Might if he was around in the rankings, he probably would be smiling and all that, happy and stuff, but you can see by his facial expression, there's maturity. He's not smiling. He has this very serious, stern look on his face, which speaks a lot. Because if this was the Endeavor before All Might lost his spot as the number one hero, he would have acted completely different. He would have been smiling, jumping for joy and all that, bragging, but he's not doing that. Which I think he now understands. He understands that even though he didn't technically earn it, he just got number one hero by default, he realizes now he needs to live up to everybody's expectations, and now he understands what All Might has had to deal with throughout his entire life, almost. So, good stuff overall. I think this chapter was relatively important and great setup for the events to come, and I think many can agree that just what a great arc so far. So, I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please stay healthy. Please stay safe. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. Chibi out.